All right, everybody, welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to be continuing Totally Not Mark's review of the Naruto manga. Now, I did start this a while ago, and I did put a pause on it because it seemed like maybe this reaction series or my reaction to Mark's Naruto review was probably not going to go over well, that maybe there just wasn't really an audience because the videos weren't really performing all that well, but I still wanted to continue it because I wanted to actually see his review of the Naruto manga. And we stopped at the 5 Kage Summit arc, and now we are at the official start of the fourth Great Shinobi War. We're about to see his review of that arc, and I'm really excited to see this because you know that the war arc is really divisive among a lot of Naruto fans. There are people who absolutely love it. There are a lot of people who absolutely hate it. There are people who love the beginning, but maybe not that big of a fan of the second half of the war arc. Although I think those people aren't really. I think there's very few of those people because the most that I've ever heard from people who talk about the war arc in the Naruto fandom, they say they don't really like the first half, but they like a lot in the second half, which is usually about when Madara shows up and when you see the fight between Naruto and Killer B against Itachi and Nagato, and uh, you know pretty much again anything that has to do with Madara. Honestly, I mean that's pretty much the thing that a lot of people say was pretty much the best part of the war arc, and that happens during the second half of the fourth Shinobi War. And I don't really hear a lot of people say that they loved the first part of the war. Although I'm sure there are people out there who really liked the first half of the war arc. For me personally, I thought it was kind of boring. I didn't really think it was all that interesting. I mean, I can kind of see what Kishimoto was going for with with the beginning, to actually show the war, to see the fight between the Shinobi Alliance against um Obito and his uh what pretty much remained of the Akatsuki. I mean, he had what's his name, Kabuto, although technically he wasn't exactly a member of the Akatsuki. He was just helping them out. He had Sasuke at the time before Sasuke met with Itachi, and ended up switching sides. And I mean, there was a lot of fights in between that were kind of okay. I liked seeing Sai and his brother, that whole interaction. That was nice to see. Um, it was nice to see, I guess, Mifune see his fight against Hanzo and see why Hanzo was so strong. And in all honesty, that was pretty much it. Like, I don't really think there's anything else that happened in the first part of uh, the four, the fourth Great Shinobi War that was really all that memorable. Again, um it was pretty much when Naruto joined the fight, and him and Killer B, they had that little scuffle with what was the name, A and Tsunade. That I thought was really interesting. And then of course he meets up with different members of the Shinobi Alliance, or he sends out clones to help different people in in the war. And obviously his fight against the third Raikage I thought was really interesting, and finding out how to defeat him. I thought that was a really good way to show how much Naruto has grown throughout the series. To see that he's able to figure things out on the fly during a battle, that was really nice to see. But honestly, that's pretty much it. Like, I really don't think at least for me personally, there wasn't a lot during the first half of the Shinobi War arc that really um, stood out to me personally, other than those few things that I pointed out. But I'm really curious to see, what Mark's thoughts are on the fourth Shinobi War. This is part 1 of 3, and I'm guessing this is probably going to cover everything up until maybe when Madara shows up. I could be wrong. I mean, we'll have to see, because again, I'm watching this for the first time, and I don't know if any of you guys are watching this for the first time. Which, if that's the case, then guys, I recommend you don't have this be the first time you're watching the video. Um, Please go watch the original video. Although this has been out for a while, so I'm sure a lot of you probably already saw the video, and I'm only just now getting to it. But I will leave a link to the original video in the description. and I will leave a link to Mark's channel. So make sure you head on over there and subscribe to him and go watch his videos. Seriously, Mark makes excellent videos. I also saw that he recently started reviewing the Dragon Ball manga, or at least the Z portion of the manga, and I can't wait to get to that. And like I said, he does have a Hunter x Hunter manga review, which of course we will be watching and reacting here on this channel, because Hunter x Hunter is one of my favorite series, and I can't wait to see uh his thoughts on it. And he also has one on Bleach, if I remember correctly. Although I could be wrong. I think I remember seeing him review Bleach. Again, I could be wrong, but if he does, if he does, then we will react to that. And guys, please comment down below with your thoughts. Let me know, what did you think about the first half of the fourth grade Shinobi War? And did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know your thoughts. As always, I really do like hearing from you guys in the comments. And if you like this video, you know what to do. Consider leaving a like, share this video out there, subscribe to this channel if you're new, and if you are subscribed, check to make sure you're still subscribed, because I think YouTube is still out there unsubscribing people. So if you are subscribed, just do me a favor, check to make sure you are still subscribed, and make sure to ring the bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video. And guys, if you want, consider becoming a channel member. It's a great way to help support the channel, and you'll also gain access to some perks as well. So with all of that said and out of the way, don't worry, I'll leave chapters in the, or timestamps in the description too, because if you want, you can probably just skip the intro and just get straight to the reaction itself. But anyway, with all that said, let's go ahead and watch the video.
Finally, it is war
Oh, sorry, as always.
time. The fourth Shinobi War, to be specific. But before I dive into the review for this week, I regretfully need to announce something. As many of you might have noticed or saw either on Twitter or as the pinned comment in last week's video, I revealed that I had in fact been spoiled on one significant aspect of the story, that being I now know who Madara really is. Despite using the same tactics I had been using with One Piece, muting words on various social media, as it happened, the spoilers came by way of a much more malicious source. During the flame war on Twitter last week regarding the Great Sakura debate, someone went out of their way to spell names with numbers to slip through my muted words intentionally in an effort to specifically spoil me. Now, I want this experience to be as authentic as I possibly can, so I felt it necessary to be transparent about this. I'm sorry if this has dampened anyone's excitement for the rest of this series and my reactions, but I'll be taking more extreme measures to avoid more instances like this in the future. That said, I am still very excited to see how the rest of the story pans.
That actually does kind of suck, but in all honesty, that does kind of happen, unfortunately. Like, there's, even if you try to avoid spoilers, like let's say you mute certain words on Twitter or whatever, unfortunately, there's always going to be some way that someone is going to find, or someone will find some way to spoil things for you. That's just going to happen. It sucks, but I mean, what are you going to do? It is what it is. I mean, look, if you've tried your best, that's honestly, the most that anyone can ask of you. Like, hey, you genuinely try to avoid spoilers, but someone just found a way to spoil it for you. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, that's just part of the internet. It sucks. And honestly, I think the only way to really avoid spoilers is to just not go online at all for anything. If there's a movie that's about to come out that you're really excited for, and you don't want to hear any spoilers, you just have to stay offline until you actually go see the movie. But unfortunately, that's just a little difficult for a lot of people to do, especially if you're a content creator, because you want to keep up to date with whatever is going on currently. And unfortunately, in order to do that, you got to be online. And when you go online, you run the risk of being spoiled on whatever it is that you're currently looking forward to. Again, whether it's a movie, or maybe there's an episode of a TV show that's about to be released that you're really excited for, because you think there's going to be something, maybe the show will finally answer some questions that you've been asking for a while, and someone's going to get a chance to see it. Or in my case with video games, there have been times when there's a game that I'm really looking forward to, and some people gain early access to those games, and they feel like I don't know why, they feel like they just have to spoil it for the rest of us. Again, it sucks, but what are you going to do? Again, it's just part of internet culture. There's nothing you can do about it. other than just, try your best to avoid them. And I think, again, the best way to do that is to stay offline. But again, if you're a content creator, that's a little difficult to do because, like I said, you have to, constantly stay on top of things. You have to know what's going on so you can keep yourself informed, especially if you're someone who comments on whatever it is that's going on, whether it's, again, movies, TV shows, books, video games. I mean, also, if you're wondering, like, what video games, for example, the recent God of War game, God of War Ragnarok, I remember I was really looking forward to it. We were getting real close to the game being released. And unfortunately, someone decided to post a video of a very significant plot point. I won't say what it is here because just in case there's someone watching this who hasn't played the game yet, I don't want to spoil it for them. But let's just say that something significant happened that someone thought it would be a real smart idea to say it in the title of the video. Like, they didn't even try to be vague, They didn't try to say, oh my, a title like, oh my God, I can't believe this thing happened to, this person. Just try to be as vague as you possibly can while still, having a title that will, kind of convince people to click on it and to watch it. No, they just outright said, oh yeah, this happened. And essentially they completely spoiled it for me. So when I did get to that part of the story, I was like, oh, this is probably when that's about to happen. And it just, I mean, it's just, I honestly don't know why people do this. I mean, okay, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I think I can understand why, people want to get clicks. I get that. I do. But it's just like, you would excuse me, guys, just had to clear my throat for a second. Anyway, you would think that people would just, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not gonna judge what anyone else does, on their own channel. I mean, it's their channel; they're free to do whatever the hell they want with it. But still, I mean, at least wait. Like, at least wait until like the day, or at least a couple of days after the game's been released, or after whatever it is that's been released. Just wait a couple of days, or maybe put a spoiler warning on the thumbnail or in the title or something. Just at least do that. At least do us the common courtesy of warning us beforehand, or at least trying to warn us as much as you can. Again, put like a spoiler tag on the thumbnail or spoiler in the title of the video so people know, hey, this includes a spoiler and I don't want to be spoiled. Okay, I'm going to stay away from it, not even going to look at the thumbnail. But they don't even do that. Anyway, that's kind of what I had to say on that. But let's go ahead and continue with the video. I'll try not to talk too much because I don't want this video to be like, over an hour long. Because I know I have a tendency to do that whenever I start to, start to comment on something, and then I'll start to go off and I'll go on and on and on. And before I know it, the video is nearly an hour and a half long. And this is only a 27-minute video.
Out and intend on sharing my thoughts on Obito's reveal once it does prop up in the story. Oftentimes, it's the hows and whys that are the most interesting narratively anyway, and so, with that somewhat somber disclaimer out of the way, it's time to dive into something a little more action-packed and fun. As I said in the beginning, this video is about war. So let's get to it.
Sorry, I forgot to, and also I can hear the song that's about to come up, so I'm going to lower the volume. Sorry, you guys know how it is with YouTube and music. But anyway, what I was going to say, yeah, the moment that he showed right here. Let me bring it back up on screen. Yeah, this moment right here. This is one of the few things I liked about the first half of the Shinobi War. Like the moment when Naruto meets Kushina and has that conversation with her, and we get some more backstory on what happened. The day that as we found out, Obito invaded the village and brought in Kurama and just caused him to go on a rampage, which led to, of course, Minato and Kushina's death. And it's just, I really like that moment. It gets to me every single time I see it. It's just, I don't know what it is. I love that moment. But anyway, let's go back to where we were.
Dive into something a little more action-packed and fun. As I said in the beginning, this video is about war. So let's get to it. Off the back of my last video, I'm picking things up again right as Naruto saves Sakura from her second near-death experience courtesy of Sasuke, which leads to a surprisingly novel experience in the series. There is a standoff, yes, but there's, relatively speaking, very little action, with only one blow being exchanged between the two warriors. And the interesting part of this scene doesn't come from the action, but instead through the thoughts and words shared.
Which, by the way, about this scene right here, this clash between Naruto and Sasuke, if you want a more, I guess you could say, extended version of this, then play the Naruto Storm 3, I think it was. Yeah, Naruto Storm 3. They get to this moment and they actually have an extended fight between Naruto and Sasuke, which I thought was really, really well done, which is, again, one of the reasons why I think that CyberConnect 2 is the best studio for adapting the Naruto series into video games. Like they honestly, they did such a good job, and you can see why anytime now an anime fan says that, oh, CC2 is about to make a game on this property, they get really, really excited because it's like, oh, we saw what you did with Naruto. Oh man, like I can't wait to see what they do with this. And for me personally, it's kind of one of the reasons why what was it? Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was a bit of a disappointment for me, at least when it came to the story, because I was like, you know, they didn't do anything that they did for Storm, at least when it comes to the QTEs, because the QTEs were probably one of my favorite things about the you know, the boss battles, especially in Naruto. Like they made it come alive, and they actually made you feel like you're a part of the, you know, a part of the action. Like you weren't just sitting back and you were watching it, which again was one of my biggest disappointment with Kakarot, because I thought they were going to do that for, you know, Dragon Ball, but instead they made, admittedly, like very beautiful looking cutscenes. Again, that's one thing that they've never failed at doing, which is the, you know, the animated cutscenes looked absolutely phenomenal. But it's just like, I'm just sitting back and I'm just watching this. Like I'm not even a part of it, which is kind of disappointing, because again, that was one of the things that I loved about the Storm games, is that they actually made you feel like you're part of the action, like I said. So yeah, again, just one more. If you want like an extended fight scene between these two at this point in the story, you can, I think you can find the cutscene on YouTube. It looks amazing, and yeah, I think it's really, really fun what they did. I understand it's not what happened in the story, but it's still a fun thing if you want to see it. But anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, but first a quick word from our sponsor.
Thank you so much to Athletic Greens for sponsoring today's video. They were kind enough to send across their wonderful comprehensive all-in-one greens powder called AG1 by Athletic Greens. For me, this is a year all about restoring the active lifestyle I largely lost during the past few years of madness in the world. I have plans to travel to the US this year and also run a marathon. There's a lot to do that requires me to feel as healthy as possible, so joining up with Athletic Greens was a real no-brainer. Their AG1 powder makes keeping up with the nutrition super simple. No longer do you need to keep up with a whole bunch of different tablets to maintain your health. 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens, that's a mouthful. All of this contained within one single daily serving. It's totally brainless and has gone a long way in not only helping me feel a boost in energy throughout the day, but has also helped me bounce back quicker from my daily workouts. If this sounds good, then you'll be glad to hear Athletic Greens have also been kind enough to offer you guys a whole year's free supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. For me, one of the best aspects is that AG1 is super simple to use. You just mix one scoop with water or your favorite smoothie or juice of choice, shake it up, and you're good to go. It's got a fairly earthy taste with a sweet edge, the intensity of which is really easy to control based on how much liquid you use and of what type, which is great for someone like me who's always a bit skeptical of healthy looking green things. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to click the link in the description now to get your year's supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 travel packs for free with your first purchase. AG1 provides your body with everything it needs for optimal performance every single day. This is a game changer for supporting your immune system, and I can't recommend it enough. Naruto sees Sasuke as a friend and understands.
So just a quick question about this stuff. Now, again, I've never tried this. Where is it? Let me see if I can bring it up. Excuse me. Sorry, just had to clear my throat again. Now, I was going to say, like, I've never personally tried this. So I do want to ask, you know, if you're watching this and you have tried athletic greens, let me know, because I'm always curious about this stuff. The stuff that they say, hey, take this to help you out with your really healthy lifestyle, and you just need a little bit a day to give you like your daily vitamin needs. I'm always a little bit skeptical of these things. So if you're, again, if you're watching this and if you've tried this, just let me know. Like, is it good? Does it work? Or is it just is it not? Um. Anyway, sorry. That's just all I really wanted to ask. But let's go ahead and continue.
Naruto sees Sasuke as a friend and understands the nuance of his situation. He's also capable of empathizing with his circumstances, even going as far as to imagine a scenario where he could have turned out exactly the same as Sasuke, lost and vengeful. There's a nice callback to their last major conflict with Naruto himself citing that they are both high-level shinobi now, meaning they should be able to read each other's thoughts apparently, further emphasizing this sense in Sasuke that Naruto does in fact understand why he is the way that he is, and drags to the forefront Sasuke's mistakes for him, only for Sasuke to double down on his path moments afterwards by requesting he receive his brother's eyes because he is now losing his vision. And speaking of which, perhaps down the road this choice could act as a physical embodiment of finally getting to see the world from his brother's perspective, slowly coming around to his way of seeing things both literally and metaphorically. In other words, there might be a chance for some nice, albeit slightly on the nose, symbolism. But I digress. The scene itself between Sasuke and Naruto exchanging words has some really nice callbacks to their respective pasts as they launch towards each other with their respective signature techniques, the Chidori and the Rasengan. It's quite tense, and despite it being for the most part a little teaser or prelude to what will no doubt be a massive conflict later on in the story, I thought the dialogue and themes presented here were both entertaining and effective in what they were trying to achieve. And before I move on, I want to touch on what might be a minor visual cue, but it might also be my favorite visual indicator during the entire confrontation that spoke to how serious and all in, really, Naruto was during this meeting with Sasuke. Prior to stepping forward to confront him, both physically and verbally, Naruto had created 2 other clones. This could have created the perfect situation for him to hedge his bets and bluff by keeping his true self back while sending out a clone to carry out that same message. For safety. However, and this speaks to what he said to Sakura about authenticity and being true to oneself, he didn't do that. As made evident by those 2 clones vanishing the moment Sasuke leaves, revealing that the real Naruto was in fact the one in front of him all along before passing out. In that moment, he really put everything on the line, extending a friendly smile and genuine hand in order to potentially save his friend, earnestly trying to do so. That's a powerful statement, and it's communicated without words brilliantly in a way only Naruto the character can. It's a brilliant part of this scene that honestly was quite understated, I thought. Switching gears now to something completely different, Killer Bee returns to his village with his brother in tow, the Raikage. Since defeating Kisame, he's been keeping his sword as a, quote, spoil of war, but oh wait!
Yeah, no.
Kisame is alive. This legitimately caught me off guard. I genuinely thought he was dead considering the direction the story was going.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I didn't really think he was dead. I was like, there's no way they just killed him off. Because I remember reading that chapter, and when he gets beheaded, I was like, no, there's no way. That felt way too easy. There's no way he's dead. And yep, turns out I was correct. Now, I didn't predict that he was, Samehada. I didn't predict that, I will be honest. But I didn't think he was dead, because it was like, wait a minute, this just feels weird. And it's not how, considering how big of a character he's been, well, not big as in, in terms of how much screen time he's gotten, but it's just from like what we've seen of him, it felt weird. Like, it didn't feel right that Kishimoto would kill him off in that way. I mean, it was a brutal way to kill off a character, but at the same time, it was just like, it felt off. You know what I mean? Like when, excuse me, guys. Sorry, just one more second. Sorry. I just had to clear my throat again. It just felt like whenever you're reading a story and it feels like the author is trying to get you to believe something, but like in the back of your mind, you're like, wait a minute, like, hold on, no, this feels a little bit off. This feels off. And then of course it turns out, yeah, Kisame's not dead. He's still alive, and he was just trying to basically infiltrate, wherever it is that I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of where they were, but basically infiltrating and gathering information on the location of Naruto and Kisame, or not Kisame, but Killer B, because that was the whole point of the war. They were trying to get the nine and the eight tails Jinchuriki. And I thought it was actually pretty smart. But although I am curious to know from you guys, did you guys believe that Kisame was dead when he was initially killed off? In air quotes. For me personally, I didn't think he was dead. I thought, no, this doesn't feel right. And then turns out, yeah, he wasn't dead.
It made sense to me at the time that the cast would start to dwindle down
see
some.
this.
However,
I
my
didn't believe
estimation
this.
was
And then-
entirely incorrect. Instead, we're not only not killing off Kisame, but we're reincorporating him back into the story along with Kabuto, with a brand new snake-like design. And speaking of Kabuto, hello! I'm glad Orochimaru's presence is still being felt in this story since his absorption somewhat. So much time had been spent on him and his desires as a character. Furthermore, he offered a really interesting third position in the Akatsuki vs Shinobi war that's now looming on the horizon, and thankfully Kabuto can act as the replacement for that ideology in many respects. With his desires not necessarily interfering with the Akatsuki, the alliance between the two was an interesting one for sure. And catching back up with the Konoha folks that Sakura knocked out, I think it's interesting watching Karen remark on what she feels when looking at Naruto compared to when she looked at Sasuke, remarking that he's the exact opposite of him. Bright and warm. But what I really liked about this was what it was foreshadowing. For moments after she remarks on his brightness and warmth, she comes right out and remarks on what darkness lies beneath. The nine-tailed fox spirit. I like this in retrospect, as it really helps to set up and build up a challenge Naruto eventually has to face, mastering this darkness he possesses deep down. And speaking of that darkness, right off the back of Sasuke's successful eye surgery transplant, or whatever you want to call it, we witness an encounter between Naruto and the Toad spirits. This largely deals with the Elder Toad examining Naruto's destiny for any signs of progression towards a favorable goal. In it, he sees two entities in Naruto's future. The Toad Elder sees an octopus taking the form of a mentor, of which, while reading, I had a few working theories as to what that eight-limbed entity might manifest as. Theory number 1. Octopuses are famous for their 8 limbs which look like tails, and so my first thought is that this could easily point to Naruto being mentored by Killer Bee and his 8-tailed spirit. This makes sense, as he would be able to teach him to control the 9 tails like he did with his 8 as established earlier in the story. This one happened to be correct. Theory number 2 was, maybe the octopus and its 8 limbs are a misdirect and Naruto is actually going to fight against or learn from Kabuto and his many snakes, which could take the form of 8 snakes, who knows. This was a long shot and I knew it. And finally, my third theory was, maybe the octopus is a metaphor for a beast composed of 8 individuals. Maybe this will result in Naruto working with Killer Bee and 7 others to complete his training. But this again was a long shot in my eyes. The second and final prophecy interpreted by the Toad spoke of someone whose power lies in his eyes, which Naruto confidently alludes to Sasuke matching that description. And I mean, it does. But now that Naruto, and effectively Kishimoto, has pointed it out, it makes me question whether or not it is going to be Sasuke. Either way, I'm excited by the prospects of this. I love that this training Naruto has to undergo also forces him to focus on what makes him different from Sasuke. That his training is only possible because he represents the ideological opposite to Sasuke's hatred. One cannot master what Naruto is setting out to do by embracing hate, but in fact, suppressing and overcoming it. It's perfect. And the means with which he does it is also great. Right now, Naruto has to overcome his internal demons to even qualify for the training under Killer Bee. And upon stepping up to this preliminary challenge, Naruto realizes what's being asked of him. The actual manifestation of his anger, resentment, and hatred stands before him. The chakra and world that Naruto inhabits is great for these obvious visual metaphors, and oftentimes when shows have interesting worlds and settings like this that lend a lot to their stories, they rest on the laurels of those advantages while not staying true to the characters. In this, however, the manifestation of Naruto's hatred is perfectly in keeping with his character. Earlier in the arc, as well as other times in this series, Naruto's been apprehensive to indulge or fully embrace the adulation he's been receiving since becoming the hero of Konoha, and when faced with his inner hatred, we learn that this stems from a lack of trust in them and himself. A lack of trust because he doesn't fully believe in himself being worthy of this praise. And there's something beautiful about that once he overcomes it, not through action, but instead through self-acceptance. And this early training material is full of moments very true to Naruto's character. He's lighthearted in the face of uncertainty, and when offered the chance to use a clone to hedge his bets, he unflinchingly refuses to use it, citing that he's going to trust himself. Speaking again to that very aspect present in the last encounter with Sasuke that I loved so much.
So, okay, sorry, I know I let that play for a little bit, but I wanted to let him speak, get everything you wanted to say about that before I even commented on it. Um, but the thing is that I'm gonna be honest, like about this whole thing.
Present in the last encounter with Sasuke that I loved.
For me personally, again, like I do get what Kishimoto was going for. Obviously, here, Naruto choosing to, like instead of rejecting it, he just accepts the fact that this hatred is a part of him. And for me personally, I always saw it as him saying that yeah, I mean, yeah, I was angry. Of course, I was. I mean, based on how people were treating me, why wouldn't I be? Anyone would be angry if that's how they were treated. And this was a way to help him, like understand more about where Sasuke was coming from. And the thing is that I just I felt like it was a little bit too easy. You know what I mean? I would have liked if there was maybe a little bit more of a struggle between Naruto, fighting against, his inner self, his inner hatred for the people who treated him so horribly in such a long time ago for for such a long time, and for something that he didn't even do, for something that wasn't even his fault. And that was something that we did sort of see at the beginning in in Shippuden, near the end of the Kazekage rescue arc, where he had that speech, I guess you could call it. I don't know if I'd call it a speech, but he said the whole thing of, you people, you label us Jinchuriki, you see us as just weapons, even though we didn't actually do anything wrong, even though these things were, forced on us. We didn't ask for these, beasts to be, sealed inside of us. We didn't ask to be turned into weapons. All these things were basically forced against us. We didn't have a choice. And now you're treating us so horribly for it. What gives you the right? What gives you the right to do that? And I feel like I would have liked a little bit more here for me personally. I would have liked if maybe, Naruto was actually struggling, like genuinely struggling to, keep his anger suppressed, or to just accept what happened and just choose to move forward. Instead, it just happens. Like he just accepts it and goes, okay, yeah, it happens. And I don't know, it felt a little bit too quick for me. For me personally, again, maybe you guys disagree, which if that's the case, that's completely fine. Maybe you guys see this moment differently than I do, and if you do, let me know why in the comment section down below, as always. But yeah, I just wanted to give my thoughts on that, and I really wish we had more of this as opposed to this little bit that we got, and it just again, it happened a little bit too quickly, at least again for me personally. Let's continue.
Loved so much.
よう相変わらず目つき悪いな。
貴様、本当のお前はどこに行った？
The struggle between Naruto and the Nine-Tailed Fox Spirit is, for all intents and purposes, one of the best moments for me in the entire series. Not just for its thematic resonance with me, or even how well it's drawn. There's tons to love and appreciate about this sequence and struggle for Naruto, with his clear reliance on every signature move he's learned across the series, from the clone technique, to the Rasengan, to even the Sage mode itself. All of which are manifestations and results derived from those that have helped and loved him in the past, particularly with the Sage mode. And when he uses that, I actually got chills. All of this is fantastic. However, for me, the best part of this scene came from how it ended up making me feel.
Naruto.
At the beginning of every volume, Kishimoto writes a short paragraph describing either the development of this particular volume or whatever might have been on his mind at the time of writing it. For volume 53, he wrote this. When the time came to put together the plot for Naruto Volume 53, I consulted my wife. And this is what resulted. Stories about mother. And if I'm being completely honest, I really felt that warm, authentic motherly influence all over these chapters when Naruto contends with his inner demons. The fact that his mother and father were both set up by prior seals to appear at certain key moments in his life, I thought was a brilliant touch. There's a scene much later on where Iruka's father says to him, "It's the parents' duty to protect their children." And protect their child, Kushina and Minato most definitely did and continue to do. Culminating with the events detailed from chapter 500 onwards entitled The Birth of Naruto. This is the best part of this story I've read. I don't think I've ever been more captivated by this series before. The sense of occasion, spectacle, and profound drama coats each and every page, enticing me to read further. The precise and careful steps taken by Madara to exact his revenge on Konoha by unleashing the nine-tailed fox spirit. The sheer scale of the occasion, knowing what we do now about what happens. All the while we watch as Naruto's mom and dad do everything in their power to hang on long enough to save him and his village. It's a stunning series of chapters that I actually found myself going back over to read before writing this very section of the video. It's just so well handled, with the small cameos from Kakashi and Guy, with Iruka being courageous even as early as then. We get to see the third Hokage as well as a host of other villagers and shinobi, some familiar and others formerly slain. But beyond anything else, the real star of this show is the sense of paternal responsibility, intense love for, and belief in their first and only child, Naruto. I love how Minato is so level-headed, calm, and talented, always looking to put the needs of his family and others ahead of his own, and I adore how chaotic and courageous Kushina is when trying to help her husband and child. I can see clear as day where all of Naruto's best traits came from. The drama and stakes rise higher and higher until they both realize that there's only one way of dealing with this monster. And when they come to that conclusion, Naruto's father exclaims, "Let's believe in this child. He is our son after all." For a series like Naruto, I don't think there could have been a more fitting line than this right here. A child that has suffered from a feeling of inadequacy because he felt no one ever believed in him because no one ever loved him. Ended up in that situation for quite the opposite reason. Because those that loved him more than anything else in the world were willing to lay everything they had on the line to save him, to believe in his future and what he can bring to the world. It's such a brilliant line that speaks to the 500 chapters that came before it. And then there's the final moments of the volume, where Kushina and Minato, moments before their respective deaths, unpack everything they wish they could tell their son before they pass on. And to say that I wept in these fleeting moments would be an understatement. This utterly destroyed me, and I cannot express just how much I adored this scene today. And it was all down to how authentic it felt. Remaining true to the mission statement at the beginning of this volume, I can absolutely tell that Kishimoto and his wife collaborated on the dialogue and direction of these scenes. Kushina had so much to say. She was so loving and maternal, both in a traditional sense and in a progressive one at times. All the while, Minato remained steadfast, kind, and supportive all the way to the bitter end. It's fantastically believable and entrancing in the most tragic and beautiful of ways. Easily the most emotional this series has made me, hands down, no exceptions. With the final results being a newly unlocked form, the likes of which is more aesthetically pleasing to me than any other design I've yet seen produced from Naruto or Kishimoto for the rest of this series. It looks powerful, transcendent, and appropriately angelic, given what Naruto has gone through to achieve it. It looks perfectly suited to Naruto himself, as Karen would put it, bright and warm.
So, okay, again, I know that the video played for a while before I commented, but again, I didn't want to interrupt him, and I wanted to hear everything he wanted to, or he was going to say about this whole moment. But yeah, again, this is, again, like, I know a lot of people have problems with the, the war arc, and, how it didn't really, keep their attention throughout most of it. But I think it would be hard to find anyone, like even the most ardent hater of the first half of the Shinobi War, I think even they will admit that this was definitely a great moment, in the story. Like the moment where Naruto got to hear everything about what happened, the day that the Nine Tails or Kurama invaded the village because of Obito. Again, we know he was being manipulated by Obito's genjutsu, and you know, and what led to Minato and Kushina, not being in Naruto's lives, not being in Naruto's life anymore. Again, like you can't say that this wasn't like a great moment for Naruto's character. And now he did say that like at least I think he said, hold on, let me go back. I need to rehear that again.
A newly unlocked form, the likes of which is more aesthetically pleasing to me than any other design I've yet seen produced from Naruto or Kishimoto for the rest of this series. It looks powerful, transcendent, and appropriately angelic, given what Naruto has gone through to achieve it.
So okay, yeah, he at least for him, I don't know what he's going to say about
And appropriately angelic.
I don't know what he's going to say about KCM2, or as we like to call it in the fan. I don't think it's officially called KCM2. I think that's just what we fans call it. And then of course there's 6-pass Sage mode. There's KCM2 with Sage mode, which actually it comes before Sage mode, or not Sage mode. It comes before 6-pass Sage mode. I'm curious to hear his thoughts about those forms. For me personally, I don't know if I would say this is like, I don't know if for me I would say this is the best form. I think it's a little if I'm being honest, I think it looks a little too busy. You know what I mean? I think that like one thing that I loved about Kishimoto's, character designs is that they look great despite how simple they are. You know what I mean? Like his designs have never been too busy. I mean, they had details on them, but it was never to the point where it just looked a little bit too much. And for me, I think that this is just a little bit too much. You know what I mean? It just feels like there's a lot going on here. And I do like how here you can see he's got the sun on his right palm. I don't know if it's, I don't remember if it's the same on his left, but yeah, over here on his right you can see the sun. I don't know if this was Kishimoto foreshadowing what's about to happen later on in the war arc when Naruto gets the sun seal. Again, I could be wrong, but if this really is foreshadowing by Kishimoto on what Naruto's about to get later on in the series, then that's actually really brilliant. But anyway, yeah, just wanted to say that real quick. And yeah, everything you said about this moment between
No exceptions. With the final result,
this moment between Naruto and Kushina, it's just I really do like this moment, and I'm wondering how you guys feel about it. Did you guys like it too? What did you think about it? Again, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, but let's continue.
angelic, given what Naruto has gone through to achieve it. It looks perfectly suited to Naruto himself, as Karen would put it, bright and warm.
これが俺の本当の姿
Guy versus Kisame. So this fight scene boasts one of the few moments that actually made me laugh out loud while reading a manga. Having already established what happened at the Waterfall of Truth through Naruto's fight with himself, to contrast that with Kisame crashing through it, leading to Guy believing that Kisame's weird, spiky, crazy form was his true self, gave me a good chuckle in all honesty. And furthermore, I was elated that Guy was now back in the fold, actively participating in the story. It's been way too long and I hope we get to see more of Rock Lee and him too. Those characters are way too good not to be used more than they currently are. And in all seriousness, this fight vindicates that desire because holy fucking shit, this was incredible. Throughout this series, Kisame has been a cockroach. Not in the sense that he's an irritating insect, but more so that he just won't die or go away. And being incredibly powerful as he is, he's always been a large issue whenever he's propped up in the story. Armed with abilities that absorb chakra, I honestly couldn't think of a better opponent to absolutely body him like Guy did right here. The years of tireless practice in perfecting an area of fighting that's been somewhat neglected in modern times, taijutsu, something that could have been seen as a weakness in some other occasion, is the very reason he was able to overcome Kisame in this moment. There's no chakra use at all, he's just so powerful his fists change the pressure in the air enough to create this monstrosity. Watching Kisame try and fail to secure any of his chakra in his usual way, it's mind-bendingly cool to watch, and when Kisame tries to move even an inch afterwards, Guy pounces on him, effortlessly pinning him to the ground yet again. For an individual who's more flamboyant and lighthearted than most, it serves his character and indeed this scene well for him to be so serious during this encounter. It's a great contrast, what a tussle, so damn cool. Also, I'm not gonna lie, there are times when I'm reading this story that I wished it was more like Guy and Rock Lee's story. They need their own spin-off manga or something because I would read that in a heartbeat.
No.
I just love their designs and characters. They're just so dorky while also looking effortlessly badass when drawn a certain way. That's a really tough balance to strike with the design, and they're barely used at all. The ending, however, of this encounter with Kisame is actually kinda nice, but in a troubling sort of way, of course. Trying to get intel from Kisame while he's down, Kisame elects to off himself instead of relinquishing said information. And I like this really only because we get a short glimpse into his past and his first introduction to Itachi way back when. I will however say that I would have liked his backstory to be established a little earlier in the story than it was right now. Us being filled in on the details of his key life thematic moments mere seconds before his death feels a tiny bit rushed and I feel cheapens the overall character. He's a brilliant character. This sort of felt like Kishimoto was a kid in class doing his homework right before it started, though I suppose that's a bit severe. We've known Kisame for quite some time, and I still very much enjoyed this bit of introspection it offered us for Itachi and indeed how it influenced Kisame's judgment. I especially liked the line Itachi utters about death, quote, "No matter who you are, you do not know what kind of human you are until the very end," which speaks wonderfully to both Itachi and indeed Kisame's death at this moment. I really liked this inclusion.
So about the Kisame thing, I think I've talked about this before, so I'm not gonna repeat myself too much here, but I wasn't a big fan of how the fight between what's his name? Kisame, I don't know why I forget. I literally just said his name a second ago and I already forgot it. Kisame and B, or not B, but the fight between Kisame and Guy ended. Not a big fan of that because again, it just I don't know, it felt like a weird way for the other fight to end. Again, I get what he was going for. Again, the whole taijutsu versus someone with insanely, high chakra reserves, so much so that he's being compared to a tailed beast. But I don't know, it just wasn't really a big fan of how the fight ended. The moment of him, offing himself instead of letting himself be, a prisoner and then being used to gather intel, but still managing to, send intel back to the Akatsuki. I thought that, that was pretty cool. At least, they gave him a cool way to go out. I do like that Kishimoto gave him that. But yeah, overall, not a big fan of how the fight ended. But anyway, let's get to this part right here. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hold on.
And right off the back of Kisame, we get this mammoth of a battle between Konan and Uchiha Madara, during which his mask starts to break off from her incredible attack and will to defeat him. I didn't see this battle in the anime, but in the manga, the scale and scope of Kishimoto's drawings really sold me on the magnitude of this encounter. Konan is standing up for an ideal instilled in her by Naruto earlier in the story, hopeful that the future Nagato yearned for would eventually become a reality. It's clear that Obito, or Madara in this instance, is single-minded in his approach, referring to Nagato initially not by name, but instead by his utility, the Rinnegan. And watching Konan shroud him in her bombs, leaving him with a destroyed mask and a missing arm, felt massively satisfying and surprising. It seems, having come from a group that believed in Yahiko or Nagato being the bridge to peace, they now have only one hope left: Naruto. And really, I think that's a nice build-up towards the climax. There's a really sweet little sign-off too to these characters using their time spent with Jiraiya. But again, I kind of wish this lesson they shared wasn't established for the purposes of this exit to the story. I still think it's massively resonant, but I think it could have been made a lot more effective if it had been a callback to an element of their training we had already been exposed to during their time with Jiraiya. But that's honestly just a small gripe. And hey look, Madara has a swanky new mask. Right at this moment, Naruto thinks he's on a mission to count the amount of balls on these animals, all the while not Deidara and Kabuto try to reach and capture him, while flying on a giant clay bird, which is in and of itself flying to an island that is also not an island but a massive turtle. Do I have that right? The story is so weird and I love it in the best of ways. At this point, the story is escalating much faster than I expected it to, which is brilliant from a pacing standpoint. And I love the atmosphere and characters that are being brought to the forefront of this arc too. Funnily enough, Kishimoto wrote at the beginning of volume 55 that he had to go back and reference his older work because this upcoming section involves so many past characters, apparently he just forgot about their specs. And don't worry, Kishimoto, so did I. Probably the most significant.
Honestly, I don't think anyone can knock Kishimoto for that. I think that's pretty normal, especially when you've created so many characters that, you know, when some of them have either been dead or you haven't, you know, had them on screen for a while now. Having them, you know, now that you're about to bring them back and then referencing your old work, I don't think anyone can hold it, you know, against them for doing that. I think that's pretty normal, you know, because you want to make sure you write the characters right, especially if you, you know, if you're going to have them in a battle, you know, because this is a battle shonen, you need to remember, okay, what can this character do? What can they not do? I need to make sure I know everything exactly so I don't, you know, screw up.
Actions that occurred during this encounter were that the old Kage guy that looks a little like the inspiration for Gran Torino from My Hero Academia fought against Deidara, and of course the capture of Yamato by Kabuto. I think the most interesting part of this for me was how calculated and measured Kabuto's judgment seems to be in this instance. He's not going to overextend himself at all, and due to that he's managed to make off with Yamato, a massively powerful shinobi and ally to Naruto, all in an effort to effectively fuel Madara's army. And I guess that means it's time for war.
I don't remember it being that bad. Hold on, look at this. Yeah, okay, so no, I think this guy's 2D. I could be wrong, but most of them, oh wow, that looks terrible. Yeah, no, this army was entirely CG. I mean, I get it, like trying to animate this many characters would be like a pain in the ass, but man, like when you take a closer look, oh boy, does this look bad. Look at this, look how rubbery it looks. Yeah. I don't know what's the, yeah.
Gaara's speech. One thing I will say about this from the outset, as it's as good a time as any to say it, Gaara's role in the story ever since the time skip has been diminished so significantly that it almost feels like an injustice. Similar to how I've expressed myself concerning Guy and Rock Lee, Gaara's another one of those characters I felt could have offered so much more to the story, having been yet another, albeit much more simple, analog to Sasuke given the journey he's on right now. I was prepared going into the time skip for Gaara to fulfill a specific role. While not as prominent as Naruto and Sasuke, I figured given his standing in the story at the time that he would have been kept involved in the rat race, so to speak. With that said, leading up to this point, I haven't been entirely upset with his utility in the tale altogether. He does provide an interesting bit of commentary concerning his view on the old guard versus the next generation, and I do like how he empathizes from time to time on the actions of different characters he relates to on a deeper level. Furthermore, I think placing him into a leader's role is a really interesting idea, and while I am happy with what he offers the story, I think he's still being criminally underutilized. And I'd even go as far as to say that I feel like there have been some new characters introduced in this second half of the story, fulfilling roles that he could have otherwise been occupying at this moment, but that's just my opinion. As we're introduced to both the
Yeah, that's the thing. Again, like when you create so many characters, unfortunately some of them are just going to be left in the background. It sucks, but it is what it is. You know, a lot of people feel that way about Neji. You know, like he felt like such a big part of the first, you know, the first part of Naruto, and then in comes Shippuden, and he's barely even there. I mean, he was, you know, he was there during the Kazekage rescue, but then after that, he was just completely gone, and it just felt like Kishimoto didn't really know what to do with him. And then during the war arc, well, we all know what happened. Yeah, it sucks, but again, it is what it is. It just happens in every story. Like sometimes, you know, when you have a story to tell, you got to prioritize the characters that are actually necessary to it, and some of the other ones who, maybe you do want to give, some of the spotlight to them. You have to stop yourself from doing that, because it's like, okay, what's more important for you to satisfy what you want to do as a writer, or for you to do what's best for your story? And sometimes writers, they got to do that. They got to prioritize what's best for the story, and I think that's what Kishimoto did. He focused on the story that needed to be told, and even though I'm sure he probably would have liked to do more with some of the other characters, it was just the story that he was telling required, other characters to be more present, and some just weren't. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
The Shinobi and the Akatsuki forces, there's a great contrast established. While we look at the folks fighting on behalf of Shinobi against the Akatsuki, we see numerous faces, some familiar, some unfamiliar, all with a strong sense of character, perspective, and experience, or lack thereof. Every one of them voices their concerns, speculations, and thoughts to us as we cycle through each regiment. However, with the Akatsuki, there's nothing but darkness and silence. Like an army of zombies, totally void of life, are bracing themselves for an imminent attack. Awaiting the orders of their leader Madara, it's quite tense and atmospheric, if I'm being perfectly honest. Gaara's speech is the best thing his character has done since Naruto saved him so long ago. And while I have my grievances with how this character has been treated since, this scene still speaks to the aspects of the character that I adored back in the beginning, and indeed still do right now. The differences that make up this fighting unit, this army, when compared to the forces of the Akatsuki, is that of life. They aren't resurrected beings, they aren't zombies, they have one life and they have free will. These are the very things that they are fighting against the Akatsuki for, however, they are also something that at this moment are standing in their respective ways. For many years, the shared histories of these villages, Mist, Cloud, Sandstone, Leaf, etc., have been a source of pain and hatred for one another. But this is where Gaara has a chance to utilize his unique history to act as the great unifier in many respects, and in quite spectacular fashion too, might I add. I was only sitting here reading the speech in the manga and it still gave me chills. Again, he totally empathizes with the respective points of view and even offers himself up to the chopping block once this is all over, but also outlines that today they need to unify using their shared experience with the Akatsuki, to understand that this is much larger than each of them and their individual feelings right now, and serves to highlight that following hatred is a recipe for disaster, a lesson Naruto taught him. And for Naruto, their families, and their homes, they must fight this day. It's a spectacular speech that again speaks to the themes of this character and indeed to handing over responsibility to the next generation to try and make amends for the mistakes of the past. Like I mentioned in the past, with regards to Naruto's motivation and conviction, as well as what's highlighted when comparing these two armies, a driving force of many of these conflicts is that of dealing with reality. And right here in this battle, we see just that. We watch as Sai confronts a version of his brother whom he loves. We watch as Sasori learns to understand that the so-called true self he now believes he is nothing more than a marionette controlled and conjured by someone else. All of these are terrific instances that speak to the ideology that makes for the real battleground that this all is taking place on, with a really nice touch being that of their termination, not by offense, but instead by convincing them to join reality instead of a fantasy. A nice ruffle in the story from Kishimoto, I thought. And if the impending battle wasn't tense enough, the training Naruto's undergoing right now might yield my new favorite technique in the series. So, this Biju Chakra Fire Spirit mode he's got right now is surprisingly similar mechanically to that of the Kaioken. Well, at least from what it offers the story in some important respects. Similar to the Kaioken, if Goku were to rely too heavily on it, it would cease being a tool and instead become an instrument for his demise, as seen during the Saiyan saga. However, with Naruto having successfully alphaed the Nine-Tailed Spirit, he now has access to the Fox's chakra reserves, an important and brilliant addition to his repertoire. However, without having tamed the fox, Naruto now runs a very large risk. If he relies too heavily on the fox spirit's chakra energy, the fox too can steal Naruto's chakra. And if that supply reaches zero, that being Naruto's chakra energy, then there's no more Naruto. And to add more weight to this issue, if he uses the clone technique, it expedites that same process, which not only means a significantly important technique fundamental to much of his arsenal has now been compromised, but he also can't lean as heavily on it to speed up his training. But in typical Naruto fashion, this isn't going to slow the young man down, but I honestly have no idea where this will lead him. My hope is somewhere really cool. I'm going to stop here for now. Next time I cover Naruto, I will be covering all the upcoming battles, and I hope I'll see you there. If you want more content like this, consider subscribing. It makes a massive difference to myself and my team, and it only takes 2 seconds of your time. And hey, you can always undo it later if you want. With all of that said, I hope you have a terrific day. I've been Totally Not Mark, and thank you all so much for watching.
Okay, so I think that's. Is there anything else? No. Okay, but yeah, there you go. You have a link to his Patreon, and I will leave a link to his channel in the description of this video, guys, as well as a link to this video if you want to go check it out for yourself. But guys, as I said, and by the way, make sure to do this for every creator that we react to here on this channel. Make sure you check out the original video and check out their channel, and make sure you go support them by watching their videos. You know, helping them out with the algorithm. Because again, they are the ones who are actually making these videos. And if you want to do the same for me, then you know what to do. Hit the like button, share the video out there, subscribe if you haven't, ring the bell for notifications, check to make sure you are still subscribed, because apparently I'm hearing from what other content creators are saying that YouTube is apparently still unsubscribing people without their notice. So if you are subscribed to my channel, just make sure to check to see if you are still subscribed. Excuse me. And please comment down below with whatever your thoughts are. I do like hearing from you guys in the comments. And of course, let me know if you want me to continue with this, because like I said before, the reason why I stopped for a while is because these videos weren't really doing all that well. So I thought that maybe you guys just weren't really all that interested in this. But I do want to see like the I think there's 2 more. Yeah, I think there's 2 more parts to his 100% blind Naruto review. So I do want to finish them, and maybe I will. But if, let's say, these videos don't really do well, then maybe I won't do it at all. Because okay, if you guys aren't interested, then I mean, there's nothing really I can do about that. I'll just have to, you know, like maybe find another series to or some other videos to react to. Which, by the way, if you have any recommendations, if there are any videos out there you guys want me to react to and give my thoughts on, just let me know about them in the comment section down below. And guys, make sure to tell me the title of the video and where I can find it. Don't leave a link to the video, because YouTube removes links from comment sections, because there have been so many people who have been, you know, leaving spam links on the channel or in comment sections, and YouTube, I guess, did a thing where they don't allow links in the comment section. So just tell me the title of the video and the channel where I can find it. And if you want me to react to it and give my thoughts on it, I will do that. And with all that said out of the way, so I'm going to leave you guys, and I hope you will check out more. I'm sorry, I don't know what the hell's going on with me. I hope you will check out my review, or not my review, my reaction to part 11, and then part 12, and I think there's 1 more after that. Sorry, I said I think there's 2 more. I think there's actually 3 more. I could be wrong. Anyway, I'll check out the rest is what I'm trying to say. And I hope you'll check those out when those eventually are available. And also, one of you guys asked me to react to the rest of the Murder Drone series, and that will be coming. That should be, I will react to episode 2, or no, I did react to the pilot, and I think episode 2 is later. I could be wrong, but whatever the next episode is, that will be available after this video. And then after that episode reaction, I'll post my reaction to part 11 of his, 100% blind Naruto review. And then after that, it'll be episode 3, and then we'll cycle through that. I think you get what I'm trying to say. So now that I've said that, I will leave you. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Sorry, I forgot about this. Consider becoming a channel member to go, to take the extra step in supporting the channel, and you'll also get some perks. So if you're interested, just click on the blue join button that is next to the subscribe button to see what the memberships are and to see what you'll get if you choose to become a member of each, what each membership level offers is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I don't know what the hell's going on with me today. With all that said out of the way, now I will officially leave you guys and let you guys go on with your day. Bye for now.